Assalamu alaikum. You're watching Healthwise and I'm Dr. Tahira Shahid. Not every patient appears to be a patient. Not every patient's ailment can be recorded on a thermometer or test positive on a lab test. Not every patient receives the sympathy he deserves as a patient. Why? And which patients am I talking about? I'm talking about those suffering from mental illnesses, those suffering from severe depression. The moment they try to reach out to somebody, people start telling them they're ungrateful, perhaps they're far from God, perhaps they're not doing something right and have too much and are being very, callous about it. Today we thought that the lockdown is again being imposed. There's a lot of depression all around the country and all around the world. There is doom, there is depression, there is hopelessness, there is despair. And who can discuss this better than a psychologist herself? So we have invited today into our studio Dr. Tahira Javed, who is a very well-known psychologist with over 10 years of practice. Not only is Dr. Tahira a psychologist, she's also an inspiration in herself. We welcome Dr. Tahira Javed, a renowned psychologist. Welcome to the show, ma'am. How are you doing?
Alhamdulillah.
First things first, the third wave and 1.5 years of such despair, hopelessness, depression, kids locked up at home. Let's start with the children. What do you have to say about the effect of all these conditions, not going to school, not interacting with people, staying home all the time? What is the effect on their health?
If we talk about particularly children, so their mental health has been affected in terms of they are more frustrated, they have more behavior issues, their socialization is disturbed, their interpersonal skills have been disturbed. For example, like a 2-year-old, if we want to check upon the socialization skills of that child, we have no barometer because he was locked down for like past 1.5 years. So he got no chance to socialize and interact with peers of his age. If you talk about the school going, so their academics are disturbed because of which the frustration is building up, they are unable to meet their friends. And for them, the young children, this concept of pandemic is literally hard to understand that why they are not able to go out. If you try to tell them in much detail to make them understand, then that is very overwhelming for them. That makes them fearful, that makes them anxious and irritable more. So they have a lot of questions. Plus, they are suffering because of the parental response. So parents, if they are anxious or depressed or they are going through their own issues, all of that load has been taken to children.
So what is the solution for this? Because we've seen a lot of violent episodes recently, children, teenagers shooting entire families, getting into addiction, getting into perversions on the net. So what is the solution? How do we go about this?
This has to be solved in multiple ways. It would not be just a one-way solution. So kids need to have a proper routine. They should have a sleep schedule, they should have good eating routine, as well as they should have opportunities to exert physically in a way which is like possible for them during the lockdown as well. Then they should be engaged in multiple meaningful activities. For example, board games, which are indoor games. They can be engaged in certain storytelling, writing exercises, paintings. They can pick up on any hobby. So if they are engaged in multiple activities, they have a plan, then their frustration would be reduced. If you talk about this violence and all, then parents need to consider a lot of things. They have to answer all the questions which are building up in children's mind, because that's the age where they would be inquisitive and asking a lot of questions. If those questions are not answered properly, then the child would be more frustrated and irritable. So parents, they have to be very patient when it comes to dealing with children. And then they should be very careful about not just overloading children with their own emotions. If they are going through something, they should have a separate time, they should have separate places where they can vent out or they can offload their own emotions. But children are not the right space right now.
And how do they identify if their child is actually going into depression or needs medical help? Like if they are, like what is it that they should, what are the points they should look for?
The behavioral changes. Initially, before the lockdown, the child was very calm, composed, he was very obedient, he was socializing well, he was following with certain rules of the house. But now he's not complying, he is more irritable, he's more stubborn, he's more aggressive or like throwing tantrums. And he is losing the routine, he is falling back in his academics. Although there are online classes, but students are fulfilling their requirements of academics through that. So if the child is lacking behind on that, if the child is being more in terms of indulged in social media or like the games, online games and all. So all the behavioral changes are the indicators where they can note that the child needs help now.
And there should be a filter to the kind of content they're being subject to, right? They're watching, for example, violence in all these video games and killing and reward on killing and seeing glorifying any sort of violence, whether it's on a TV screen or whether it's on the social media. How important is that so that parents know that they have to actually filter out the kind of information or content they're passing on to their children? Even so much so, like a 24-hour news channel talking about negativity and death and disease all the time, the kind of impact that would have on a child.
To be very honest, I'll start with my example. If I get a chance to watch news for like more than 2 hours, I feel literally depressed.
Exactly.
I feel frustrated. So just imagine we as adults are being influenced by this negative news all over. So how mental health and emotional health of a children would be affected. So this content or any kind of game content needs to be filtered. There are guides, parental guides on the games and the content which the children is exposed to. So parents need to see that guide. Is it
the
like
parents are sitting with their children and watching such bloody content these days?
Yes,
They need to be told that, right? Because I actually saw this one incident where a young 13-year-old actually, killed an 11-year-old just being glorified by all the killing around, and this happened right here in Islamabad. So it's
this
like
is
scary.
There are two reasons. One, the concept of hero
Yeah.
is always who is doing aggression and is being violent or like is manipulating rights of others. So
Exactly.
the heroes that we show, if a child wants to idealize some hero, he would try to adapt the same things to be hero again in the
So our
society.
superheroes need to be redefined. They shouldn't be people
Exactly.
who are violent, who are killing others. And so much so, even our superhero women need to be redefined. They shouldn't be the damsel in distress waiting for Prince Charming
Exactly.
all the time. There are other things to do, other things to,
Exactly.
build up in yourself. And it's very important that parents talk to their children.
Exactly.
When we come to children, there's another issue that, as you said, the parents and the divorce rate has increased a lot. There's a lot of violence at home. What do you say about these interpersonal relationships of a husband and wife or people with their parents or parents with their children in such difficult times of uncertainty?
Basically, we fail to understand that when, like, it's a grief state, right? So, for example, if we talk about the ones who were working earlier, so if they are forced to sit at home for like longer periods of time, they had to give up on a certain routine. That was a loss for them. And they were going through a grief time where they were very emotional. They went through a phase of aggression and depression. So the partner who was already sitting at home and was not doing any job, for them it was a normal thing that they had to spend time home. They were the ones who had to be more careful and more supportive towards the other partner. It could be like husband working or wife working, or if both of them were working, then they need to support each other equally, right? So that was a grief time. First, you need to understand that whatsoever emotions they are expressing, it is because of the loss of the routine and loss of everything that they had to do. Then again, you come to the point where few of them had to lose upon their jobs. So there was an insecurity, there was fear, there was anxiety and depression related to the economic conditions. So the family needs to be supportive in that regard, right? So these were the reasons because of which people were bound to stay in home where they had no option to go out and vent out their emotions. And this was leading towards domestic violence and the kind of divorce rate which has increased over the past few months.
Also, it's considered taboo in our part of the world to, consult a psychologist, and you're labeled as a lunatic right at the moment when you start expressing it. So much so that they're willing to take you to people, to exorcists who hit you and do all sorts of spells on you, but they will not take you to a doctor. How important is going to a doctor and seeking proper psychiatric as well as psychological help if you're suffering, for example, from bipolar disorder or mania or schizophrenia or all of these things?
See, that doesn't mean like if you cannot see an illness, doesn't mean it doesn't exist. So the person who is expressing all the behavior which is deviating from the normal continuum, or is more the person who is very upset and is coming and telling you about it, and you just responding them in terms of you're away from God, namaz par lo, or like you're saying, you don't recite. So these are the things that you can do, right? Instead of saying that, we need to be very compassionate, and it is extremely important, as important as, for example, someone has a physical disease. If you feel like a person was suffering from fever for past 1 month, and you're trying to give them anti-fevers and they're not ready, the fever isn't going. So that means you'll be consulting a physician for that.
Right.
Equally important is to consult a psychologist when someone is dealing with emotional behaviors or like emotional troubles.
Exactly. And even if somebody is dealing with all of this, it's very important to visit your physician and then your psychologist as well, because it could be a lot of hormonal disturbances, for instance. For example, if you're hypothyroid, if you're suffering from hypothyroidism or PCOD, or it could be nutritional deficiencies, including like vitamin D, or for example, you have some kind of neurological issue going on. You need to rule that out and then have the psychologist explain to you. What is the role of diet and junk food and a lot of sugars and colas in inciting this kind of violence and depression, because that has also played a role?
Junk food and sugar, that has been associated with high levels of hyperactivity and aggression. As soon, like we have so many examples where as soon as the child consumes large amounts of chocolates, they become so hyperactive that it becomes hard for us to manage their behavior. If you talk about cold drinks or caffeines, or like you talk about junk food, so the children and the adults who are taking it, they are at high risk of hyperactivity and aggression.
What about lack of sleep and this routine where they're all up all night and then they're sleeping during the day? That has an important role as well.
That has an extreme vital role, because night is the time where your brain is repairing its cells, right? And you're not giving the opportunity. So you'll see people saying, we do sleep in the daytime. That's not enough. Your brain isn't working the way it should have been working in the night time, because it works on the biological clock and the circadian rhythms if you're not considerate about it. So your mental health automatically would start deteriorating. You would lack focus. You would not have the same amount of energy throughout the day. Your anxiety would go up. So your mental health is definitely affected by the amount of sleep and the time of sleep that you take.
And the role of physical exercise, the happy hormones that need to be released with all sorts of physical activity, and that's not just happening. And with shutting down all the parks and outdoor places, we aren't getting the vitamin D and we aren't moving at all as well. How important is that, so that people know that it's very important for these endorphins to release?
When we talk about having a proper routine, that needs to have a physical exertion exercises into it. Even if you are at home and you don't have a chance to go out and take some vitamin D, you do have a chance where you would have some window in the room from where the sunlight is coming. So a terrace. So you can go there, you can exercise in that area, and it should be made a compulsory thing for every individual of the house that they should exert physically every day for minimum 30 minutes. It could be walk, it could be exercise through a machine, or it could be certain exercises which are like normal kind of aerobics. So that can be done at home.
Now let's talk about fear and despair and hopelessness that is so prevalent right now, because we see no tomorrow and we're feeling so stifled, and people think that they can actually do nothing. They're going into self-pity, victimization. And why I want to mention her here specifically is because Dr. Tahira Javed is not, you might not be able to notice it, but she's suffering from retinitis pigmentosa, a condition that is congenital and it's progressive. It's causing her to lose her eyesight gradually, and she is now able to see very, very less. She was guided here inside by an internee of hers. So could you mention your struggle so people know that what they see is always not true? You have such struggles, yet you're working, yet you're earning, yet you're so positive, you're lively, you're full of color, you're full of hope. Because people think that one thing, they lose one thing and it's the end of the world.
It's never the end of the world. It's about the attitude, and you are always personal, you're creator of your personal reality. If you lose hope, so that means you're doing nothing. Now nothing can change. There would be no angel coming and telling you, okay, things have been done the way you wanted. It is you who has to take charge of your own life. Being self-pity and victimizing yourself is the most easiest thing. But if you take responsibility of whatsoever you're going through, if you've lost one thing, then just try to identify. You would definitely have certain things which are more positive in you, or which are like, if one of the ability is taken away, then the other abilities would be there, which would be more as compared to others.
So
For
how did you
example,
identify your strengths, and what would be your message to everybody out there that if they are suffering from anything, like for example, any limiting ability or something like that, how do they use it to become a special ability?
When I was a child, I identified that I have a very good hearing ability. So my auditory sense was very heightened. Then my sense of smell was very heightened. So these were the two physical senses which actually helped me to overcome the difficulties I was going through. Then I actually found out that in comparison to my siblings, or in comparison to my cousins and stuff, I was the one who was more passionate about studies and academics. So I tried to be positive in that. I tried to have a goal from a very early age. I wanted to be a doctor. So when I came to the point where I had to select between pre-medical, pre-engineering, or any other subject, I actually realized this at my own, that this medical would not be the right field for me. I may not be able to do the proper experimentations and practical side. I may be good at theory, but may not be good at practical. So from there on, I decided to be a psychologist where I can fulfill my passion of being a doctor, but at the same time, the handicap would not become an actual handicap for me.
So you didn't let it affect you, and this is what people need to understand, that lockdown, no lockdown, COVID, no COVID, whatever it may be, whatever the situation, there is a way to fight it. There is a way to come out of it. And
even I've fought with the COVID too.
You have fought with COVID too, so
Yes,
you're a COVID recoverer?
Yes,
so,
I'm a COVID
you have to tell people about that. It's okay. We don't need to be so fearful of the disease. It's okay to take caution, but there's no need to be terrified of it. Death is inevitable. We are going to take all the precautions against it, but it's a disease. That's fine. Don't let it plague your mind forever.
Yeah. As soon as you would let this disease take over your mind, your symptoms would aggravate.
Exactly.
So,
and it lowers your immunity like anything, right?
Because you become anxious.
It's not just this fear all the time. You don't have to keep hearing about this number soaring, this number going here and there. Be as motivated, as positive as possible. Could you suggest a few positive activities, whether it's yoga, meditation, prayer, exercise, good diet, what else? And another thing I would really like to mention is this term social distancing. We shouldn't be socially distant. We can be distant. Physical distancing is the right word.
Exactly.
But social distancing is not the right word, right?
You need to socialize more.
Exactly. So can you talk a little bit about talking to each other, interacting with each other, having human relations?
You need to strengthen your social support network during this time through the social media channels that you already have, which is very important in terms of working on your emotional and psychological health. Like when we were busy in our routines, we didn't get a chance to talk to our peers, we didn't get a chance to talk to our school fellows or college fellows, or maybe our extended relatives. So this is the opportunity where you need to interact more and more, especially for those who are COVID victims, like who have been in isolation. This is something which would be a very positive thing for them during the time where they are isolated. So social distancing doesn't mean that you cannot talk to people through social media. You can use this media for your positivity, for like your own health in terms of interacting with people. Then again, like if you talk about positive things in your routine, you need to be very careful about fulfilling all the requirements of the 4 aspects of yourself. So one is intellectual self. So intellectual self shall be fed by
good reading
learning,
material,
reading, or like taking workshops or trainings which are there online, and most of them are free these days.
You're
so
even
take
building
the
your
opportunity.
CV with that.
Yeah. So that's the intellectual side. Then it's your spiritual side. Do try to have a routine where you can feed your spiritual self through whatever means possible.
Connect with God.
Connect with God, and then like you can feed your psychological and emotional self by meditation, relaxation, by positive thinking, by constantly replacing your negative thoughts through positive thoughts. And then it's about your physical self, where you need to have a proper diet plan, you need to have sleep schedules, you need to do the physical exercises. So once you have all these activities planned throughout the day, your day would be good and your psychological health would be better.
Exactly. And can you tell us a little bit about being empathetic towards others? Because we have a tendency to judge and reach conclusions. We just look at the person, the appearance, and say, oh, you don't know what I'm going through. You know, what I'm going through, because you're not going through it. So this assuming that the other person is, you know, living the life of a paradise, what do you have to say about this kind of judgment?
I would start by quoting an example here. The other day I was having a discussion somewhere and someone was talking about a blogger, that she has a perfect mental health, she has a perfect life. And I was like, don't judge. You don't know what the girl would be going through or what the boy would be going through. They're bloggers doesn't mean that they would have a perfect lifestyle. But the discussion was about, no, they would have definitely, you see the blog and you can never predict that they will be going through something. But a few days later, we got a chance to actually go and see the other side of the story, where the blogger was suffering through a lot of things.
Well, our
in their
producer
life.
has a question for you, and he's saying that women nowadays, actually wives nowadays with little kids, are going crazy, right? Because the kids are home, the husband is home, and they don't know what to do. So he wants to know how to deal with a wife, and I would actually speak on the wife's behalf and say, how do you deal with a husband who's home all the time?
I think if everyone at home would have their own routines.
And some space as
and
well,
some
right?
space as well. So it would be a better thing. Like you can have your time, you can have me times, where that can be labeled as a worry time. So the males who are at home should have their own time for 30 minutes or 1 hour where they can just write their frustrations down, they can express themselves. And then the wife should also be given an opportunity where the husband is taking care of the kids and all,
Yeah,
and
this
she
is very
should be given
important.
a
The
time.
responsibilities need to be really,
Exactly.
distributed equally amongst
Even
themselves.
the kind of responsibility related to home chores. Now both of them are sitting home, so the responsibility shall be shared, right? So me time, personal spaces, and being support to each other in terms of distribution of responsibility is through which you can actually overcome this issue.
A lot of children are suffering from like Tourette's syndrome, and they have these kind of different tics that they are doing. Like for example, they start rubbing their eyes, or they start making different kind of sounds and everything to grab attention. How important is attention seeking, and how do you address this? Because
when you realize that the child is trying to seek attention through negative means, right? So the first thing is to have a very neutral expression and to ignore the child as much as possible.
Okay.
Sometimes they'll be very aggressive to seek your attention. Sometimes they'll be doing these tics and other things. So they'll be making different sounds to make you feel that you should be giving them attention, right?
Thank you so much, Dr. Tahira Javed. It was an absolute pleasure talking to you, and we need another episode with you. Hopefully you all also gathered as much as inspiration and information as we could from Dr. Tahira. Thank you for watching. See you tomorrow, inshallah. Allah Hafiz.